How's it going, everybody? It's your world champion here, and that's right, we are back to talk about and finish my rewatch and reread of Bleach. We've reached the final arc that the anime did, and boy, have my thoughts changed over the past years, because this was, my least favorite arc of Bleach, and to a lot of the fan base, or at least some section of the Bleach fan base, this isn't their favorite arc either. A lot of people just do not like this, and there's the other side of the coin that think this is the greatest arc that Bleach had to bring to us. And for a while I was kind of in the middle, like mainly towards the side that didn't really care for the arc. There was part of me that felt that this really didn't amount to much of anything besides Ichigo getting his powers back, obviously. But man, this recent revisit of the series opened my eyes. Like this is a fantastic arc filled with lots of Togashi influence and just Kubo giving Ichigo some of his great character moments, and a few characters get some things here or there. So strap in, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be the final arc review until the 1,000-Year Blood War ends, whenever that does, in the anime. And don't worry, I will be reading the manga, so that way my thoughts and opinions and knowledge of everything going on is relatively fresh for the anime's return. So let's talk about it, the Lost Agent arc. So 17 months have passed since the defeat of Aizen, and Ichigo's just been living life like a normal human being, something that he has wanted all of his life, because yeah, he's seen ghosts and spirits for God ever since he can remember, and he's always just wanted that normal life. He's wanted to not have powers, not have some sort of responsibility that comes with it. So now he's getting it, but is he actually truly happy? And we answered that question throughout this arc through little hints and details that Kubo really likes to put into his story. But yeah, everyone's, doing fine. All of his friends have grown up. Tatsuki's got a new hairstyle. It's kind of interesting with like the big tail and all that, but everybody's doing fine. Uryu's taking care of the hollows that come up. Yuzu and Karin have grown up as young adults. Yuzu's not even taking Ichigo's dad's shit anymore, and Karin, she's actually kind of taken on that role that early Ichigo had, where he would talk to the spirits and kind of get them to move on and all that. She doesn't really like it per se, but she at least gets some supplies from Urahara to kind of keep a lot of them at bay. And yeah, Ichigo, again, he's just living life as a normal student, and we get a lot of slice of life moments here where he's talking to his classmates and he's talking to people in clubs and all that, and actually he's selling himself for these clubs and making money off of this. Hell, he's even got a part-time job on top of that doing work for odd jobs and all that. And we see that there were a couple things that he kept from a Soul Reaper. One of them being the Soul Reaper Combat Pass, and that plays a key role in this arc, and basically a key role in the story of this arc. And the other thing he kept is his battle experience, as he stops a thug from running off with somebody's bag. But this isn't just no ordinary run-of-the-mill person. No, this guy is Ginjo Kugo, and he is the main person for this arc. He's our good guy, and then, spoiler alert, he's also the heel turn of this arc, and it's done really well, because like he meets up with Ichigo in this way, like, oh, thank you for helping me with my bag. Here, you want to treat me to some ramen? My treat. Let's go eat some ramen. But no, Ichigo passes it up, and the next day he gets kidnapped by his boss, because why not introduce this new character and give her a fun personality? I love it, because like she's this hard ass on Ichigo, but as soon as her son comes in, she turns into like the perfect mom, and even the kid's got a little mouth on him too. Ginjo actually meets up with Ichigo at this odd jobs place, and he's looking for information on Ichigo's dad. Now this gets Ichigo's attention even more, because he's just like, okay, no, you knew where I worked. You know something about my dad. What is going on here? And Ginjo kind of tries to start prying into Ichigo, like, okay, look, here's what the deal is. You don't know much about your family. I do. I know some things. But hey, you know what? I just want some information. Here's my card. Call me when you get information. So he leaves, meets up with Riruka and Giriko. We get their introductions here, and that, just a little bit of how this group is going to mesh together. So, while all this slice of life stuff is going on, Uryu and Orihime notice something about Ichigo. They notice that there's spiritual pressure around him, and that's kind of odd for somebody who got rid of their Soul Reaper powers just 17 months ago. And also, apparently, the way Ichigo's been acting, things just aren't quite there. Like, we got the speech earlier about how Ichigo, he was reflecting on his powers and whether or not it was a good thing that he lost them or anything. Like, there's a part of Ichigo, I think, that really regrets what he did, and it goes into his actions even throughout this arc while he's getting his powers back. But all of a sudden, Uryu's attacked, and we don't know who attacked him. Even his dad is just like, I've never noticed this spiritual pressure before, so it's not a Soul Reaper and it's not a Hollow, which means they're human, and they know exactly what to do. To add on to that, the spirit pressure is a lot like Chad and Orihime's powers. And we dive more deeper into that when we discover who these people are. And with this, Ichigo feels guilty. He runs into Uryu's hospital room, and they're basically not telling him all that he needs to know, and basically just shoving Ichigo to the side, being like, you don't need to concern yourself with this because, honestly, what can you do? You have no powers. You can't see what's going on. You can't hear what's going on. You have nothing. And this is something I actually want to praise the anime for, because they actually did a little bit more with making Ichigo feel powerless to defend people, because, Keigo and Mizuhiro get kidnapped by Tsukishima, and we'll explain who Tsukishima is in a little bit, but that just makes Ichigo feel more powerless, and so it just kind of puts more weight on him to get his powers back. So he meets up with Ginjo in this very convoluted way of getting through to him on a phone call. And he meets him up at the headquarters of their group called Xcution. And this is when we find out a little bit of what Chad's going through, because Chad's missing, and he's been missing for a while. And Orihime even asks Ichigo, hey, where's Chad? He's got a part-time job, doesn't he? But he's not coming to school, he's not even talking to us, what's going on? Well, it turns out Chad actually joined up with these guys, and that's basically the basis of his power, which is called Fullbring. And I love this concept of Fullbring. It's basically getting the spirit out of anything around you. So, like, I can take the spirit out of this fidget spinner, for example, that I just dropped. I can take the spirit out of that and, like, have it do what I want and all that. And Ginjo shows this by taking a drink of his drink, using the spirit of the drink and the liquid to go into his mouth and for him to swallow it and all that. So it's a really cool concept, because they use it to move faster, so the spirit of the ground and all that can boost you and all that, or using the spirit of the clouds to make you walk on air and all that. It's a really cool concept, and it kind of ties well with Chad and Orihime's power, with Chad's power being his skin. We find out later on that is his Fullbring. It's his skin is something that he has so much pride in, something that he has cherished through his years, and that that is the thing that activates his powers. Now, how are these powers? Because if you remember back to Hueco Mundo, Chad had mentioned that his powers are very close to a Hollow, and this Fullbring power only happens when parents of these people were attacked by Hollows. So the excess spirit pressure is put within them and all that. So we get that explanation. We kind of already know that Ichigo's parents have both been attacked by Hollows. I'm sure in his Soul Reaper time, Ishin got injured by a Hollow, and of course his mom, we won't get into because of Thousand Year Blood War spoilers, but yeah, there's a reason behind all of that. Don't you worry, because it's only pregnant women that get attacked by these Hollows, and this happens. But anyways, there's specialties to the Fullbringers, and they have a specialty with them that we find out. And this is where the Tagashi references come in, because with this arc, you feel that Tagashiness, that Hunter x Hunter and Nen kind of feel, or even with Yu Yu Hakusho with the psychics that ended up coming into the story later on during the Chapter Black arc. This is so cool, because you know, they have different abilities. Like Riruka, for example, she loves things, and she can permit things to go into her dollhouse that she loves. And that's actually part of Ichigo's first part of his training, is to fight this pig thing. Now, we see what people's like Fullbringers are, or like their Fullbring. So like, you know, Riruka's is her dollhouse, Chad his skin, and Ginjo this cross that he wears on his neck to make a sword. What is Ichigo's? And Ichigo's actually turns out to be the combat pass, because that's something that, and it makes sense too, because when he was given the combat pass, that's what he used to turn into a Soul Reaper, instead of like Rukia's glove and all that had the same design, but whatever. So he always held that Soul Reaper badge to him, and it was remembering all of his battles because of this whole Soul Link thing that we're talking about right now. So Ichigo does his Fullbring. He learns it in this time limit that this other member has of Xcution, who can control, like, it's not like controlling time, it's more like putting rules on a certain amount of time. So like he puts his time limit on this pig, and after a certain time he gets bulkier and basically gets into rage mode and all that. But yeah, so Ichigo unleashes his Fullbring. Cool design. I know a lot of people will question this design, but you know, I like it because it's basically Ichigo's guard. So when he gets out of that, he's, you know, holding on to the combat pass, and he can kind of hear talking in it. And it almost sounds like Rukia and all them. We won't get into that, but that is a little hint to what's going on. So while Ichigo's going home after his training, you know, he's being walked home by Chad and all that, they notice that Orihime's spiritual pressure is going all sorts of whack. Well, that's because she's getting attacked by this Shishigawara guy, and he's this lackey for Tsukishima. And they have a fun dynamic, you know. Shishigawara, he's like that punk kid that you see in a lot of anime, kind of like the Tokyo Revengers character, if you will. And Tsukishima, we see what his Fullbring is. It's like this sword. It's called Book of the End. Now, we get hints of what his power is, but oh, his power is dangerous and broken. Yeah, broken I think is the right term to use for Tsukishima's powers. So he attacks Orihime, but she's not injured. She's just kind of taken aback, and you know, she did try to fight them off a little bit, or at least she threatened to fight them off. And then afterwards, when she's talking to Ichigo and Chad about this, she's thinking of Tsukishima like a long-lost friend. Very odd. Hold on to that for just a little bit. Now, while Ichigo's heading home, he sees his dad and Kisuke talking, and they just kind of walk away shadily, and it's very odd. So Ichigo just kind of goes towards Ginjo and just like, look, I can't wait to get my powers. I need them now, and we need to do this now. So yeah, round 2 of his training, he faces off against Jackie, and we get her Fullbring, which is Dirty Boots, one of my favorite ones, because it's very simple. It's basically the more dirty her boots get, the more powerful she gets. So her and Ichigo have a fight to kind of just level up his Fullbring, and while this is going on, Chad and Orihime kind of talk about what happens, and Chad even goes to Ginjo to ask him about Tsukishima's powers, because this is kind of crazy, you know. They don't know how to deal with a power like this, and Ginjo basically says he didn't know what Tsukishima's powers are, and we see just what the Tsukishima character actually wants. Basically, he was part of their group. Wait, hold on, Watkins. I feel like you're forgetting something very important. You said Tsukishima's part of their group. What are their group? Why are they doing this? Why are they helping Ichigo get his Soul Reaper powers back? Why are they teaching him Fullbring and all this? Well, here's the thing. These people don't like their powers. Ginjo doesn't want his power. Jackie doesn't want her power. Kiriko doesn't want his power. They don't want their powers. And so they want to get rid of them. And the only way to get rid of them is to give them to a substitute Soul Reaper. Now, that was their original goal. And that's what Tsukishima wanted. But Tsukishima, he decided, wait, no, on second thought, I want to keep my powers. So he apparently kills off the Soul Reaper and kills off some of their comrades and just runs away. Now, this is kind of odd when you think about it, because wait, why would he do this, and why would this be like something that he's looking to do? And so we're just missing a couple pieces of this puzzle here, and I'll talk about those missing pieces later on, probably near the end of this video. But basically, that's what Xcution wants to do. They want to restore. They want to get rid of their powers, and they want to give them to a substitute Soul Reaper, so that way they can get it, because they can apparently get their powers. So yeah, that's basically what they're doing. And as they're talking about Tsukishima, guess who shows up? Tsukishima! He shows up and tries to ruin the party, and that's when Ichigo's second part of his training ends, and he has this, like, full-clad, it almost looks like he's wearing his Shihakusho, and he has, like, a blade stuck to his arm. So his Fullbring is starting to manifest more, and he fights Tsukishima a little bit, and he gets a few good blows in, but they end up taking Ichigo away by the power of Yukio. He puts him in this room in his video game thing, and then Ginjo and Chad kind of go after Tsukishima a little bit, but that's basically it. They don't really do anything. Tsukishima leaves because, you know, the cops are coming, all that stuff. So Tsukishima's done, and he's going away, and that's where we're leaving with that. Now, next parts here, you know, we have Uryu getting healed by Orihime, and they're kind of talking about the powers of Tsukishima and just trying to make sense of all of this. And now we just boost up Ichigo's training and bring him to fight Ginjo. And that's the third part of the training. And they even bring in Orihime to help. Now, a cool part about this, too, I want to make note of this, because everybody wants to diminish Orihime. They want to say, oh, she had no character growth throughout the whole series, blah, blah, blah. No, she has a very good character moment when she gets here at their new base, and she gets stopped by Riruko, who is basically like, you know, why are you healing him? He's gonna just get hurt anyways. Like, he's I don't want to say a monster, but he's somebody that, like, he'll just keep fighting and fighting and fighting and getting hurt. And Orihime, she's like, yeah, I know he's going to, but instead of crying about that, instead of crying about how much he's gonna get hurt, no, I'm gonna get good enough so I can restore him no matter what happens. I can heal him no matter what happens, because she remembers what happened when she couldn't do that. And yeah, she wants to make sure that she can help him with his fights and be there to defend him instead of belittling him and just leaving him to be. So yeah, again, Ichigo's training with Ginjo, it's very, like, serious training. Like, Ginjo even starts to kind of act like a villain here. We get a part here where Chad goes in there to train for a little bit. I really like Yukio's powers. This invaders must die. Again, it's just a video game thing, but he, like, creates these different spaces for people, and he can only create it and control it with his little PSP that he holds on to. It's really cool. There's even a moment too where, like, he has to charge the battery and he has to, like, sit there plugged in at the wall. It's kind of funny. So yeah, like I said, Ginjo, you know, he really puts pressure onto Ichigo, like, making him seem like he's the villain and all that, and he even blinds Ichigo for a bit just so he can start seeing Spirit's pressure, and that's when Ichigo's Fullbring explodes, and there it is, the new Fullbring. And I really like the form. I really like how this works, because it's like mixing in his Soul Reaper-ness with his hollowness and making this new outfit, new power, whatever have you. We don't even get the name of it. I want to say there is a name for it, but it might be in the Camp for Your Own World novels and whatnot. But yeah, Ichigo finishes training. Everything's fine. We get some more character moments with, like, Orihime and Riruko, where they kind of become friends somewhat. And Ichigo finishes training fairly soon, you know, again, thanks to Yukio and his ability and being able to fast forward things and all that. And, you know, everything's fine. So Ichigo just heads home, and, you know, he's gonna rest up because, you know, Tsukishima is gonna be striking any moment now. In fact, Tsukishima is already stricken because he's at Ichigo's home with his sisters, and he's used his ability, Book of the End. And oh, this is all kinds of messed up, because Tsukishima apparently went around, he stabbed Ichigo's sisters, he stabbed Ichigo's friends, he stabbed his boss, who, like, she's the one person that he can run to when all this stuff is going on, and she just answers the door, and she's just like, oh, look, Tsukishima's here to pick you up, Ichigo, isn't that great? So Tsukishima is, like, messing hardcore with Ichigo, making him feel like there is no one else left on this earth, almost making him look like the bad guy, because we actually do find out what Tsukishima's powers is so his Fullbring comes from a bookmark, and the bookmark turns into a sword. And basically what Tsukishima does is whatever he cuts, he inserts himself into their past. So it could be like as a lover, as a friend, what have you, but he basically becomes your ally without you even knowing. So it, he keeps mentioning, things like the Soul Society arc, the Hueco arc. I mean, we see this later on when we find out that Chad and Orihime have fully converted. How they're just like, yeah, he's always been for us. And poor Orihime too. Like, Tsukishima replaced her brother with himself. That's messed up, man. Like, poor Orihime. She forgot her brother for a little bit, and Chad forgot his grandfather for a bit. Tsukishima's a menace. He even invites Ichigo to this mansion where he's going to finish him off and all that. Yeah, whatever. Well, Ginjo faces the other Fullbringers to hold them off. Ichigo fights Tsukishima in this new form. It's a cool fight, whatever. And then we have this moment where Ichigo's about to be stabbed by Tsukishima. Ginjo blocks the blow, or he more or less takes the blow for Ichigo. And he falls down, he calls him Kurosaki, all that stuff. Hey, look, Uryu arrives. What's up, Uryu? How you doing? He's like, Ichigo, you need to get away from there. That man that stabbed me, he's right behind you. And we just see this smile come from Ginjo. And we get that heel turn, and oh, is it glorious, because he just stabs Ichigo, and we find out this convoluted plan that they had, where Ginjo was going to take Ichigo's powers and all that, and basically share with the other Fullbringers and all that. And it's a very convoluted plan, because what they did was, their whole plan was to get Ichigo's powers, but they were going to do it in a way where Tsukishima cut Ginjo, put himself in his past as an enemy, and then was banking on a time where this scenario would happen, where Ginjo would get in the way of Ichigo fighting Tsukishima, who could change people's past. It's very odd, because I feel like it's very convoluted, because you're banking on that chance that Ginjo's gonna do this, or banking on the chance that Tsukishima can even get a blow in like that on Ginjo. And when was the timing? When was supposed to be the time to do it? Was this the time? I don't know. And they kind of used Uryu as like the pawn for, oh, can Ichigo figure it out? Because when we saw Uryu in the beginning of the arc, and he got stabbed, we didn't see who did it. We only saw Tsukishima there. But when we see the actual flashback, Tsukishima like passed Uryu, and then Ginjo's the one that shows up and cuts him down. And then that's when they do this whole plan and all that. And so yeah, Ginjo takes Ichigo's powers, and Ichigo is left powerless yet again. And we probably get my favorite Ichigo moment of the series. Yeah, I'll say it. I'll fucking say it. I like this part because Ichigo now is at the depths of despair. He has no more power. He had a glimpse of having power back and how it felt. And this whole arc, he's going through this turmoil of having the power back, because he's now starting to kind of talk down to Chad and belittle Chad a little bit, like, oh, I need to protect him, I need to do this. Like, he's having those thoughts again, and people are noticing that he's just not the same anymore. I mean, Chad even says it earlier, where he's just like, I would rather lose my power than to watch you be powerless. That's some bro shit right there. That's some bro shit. But Ichigo, after 17 months of not having power, being like, hey, I'm kind of glad that I got my wish. Or am I? That's character growth right there. That is character work that Kubo does so well. And we're not even done with it all yet, because Ichigo, like, for the first time in the series, like, besides the stuff with his mom and all that we saw, during the Grand Fisher stuff, this is like Ichigo at his lowest, and it's so well done. Because, like, he's just laying there crying, and this is where I agree with, like, the whole, like, less is more thing. Because this works right here. Because Ichigo is just like at his lowest. And then all of a sudden, he gets stabbed by another sword. And he looks back and he sees that it's his dad and Kisuke. And he thinks, with this desperate, horrible look on his face, not you too. And of course, his dad, in his own fashion, is just like, what are you talking about? You should start seeing who actually stabbed you. It wasn't me. And we see Rukia, Ichigo can see Rukia now, again, for the first time in 17 months. And Ichigo just bursts with power. He's now a Soul Reaper again. So this is what that all shady stuff was looking like. Because like we would get panels here and there of what Ishin and Kisuke were doing. And apparently they were getting power to give to Ichigo. And not only just Rukia's power, because that wouldn't be enough to do anything. No. He's got the power of like Rukia, Kenpachi, Unohana, Byakuya, like everybody, even Yamamoto put some of his power into this thing to give Ichigo his power back. And we see what happens here. And this is what I love. Again, this is more of what I love about what happened with Bleach and how Kubo was telling this story, because Ichigo, he spent the whole series doing what he wanted to do, not following orders. Granted, he did, feel a sense of duty with doing all this stuff, but he mainly did things because he wanted to. Not because somebody told him, but because he needed to do things. He had a call to action in all of these arcs. Not once did he ever ask for anything in return. People may have thanked him, but it was more, he took it more as a, well, of course, what else am I going to do? What else should I do for a friend like you? Like, Ichigo never once asked for anything in return. And for that, Karma treated him well, because he changed the Soul Society in the way that he is. And we'll talk just in a little bit about how much he really changed the Soul Society. So Yamamoto ordered everybody to put all their power into this sword that Urahara is going to use to give Ichigo his powers back, as a way to kind of thank Ichigo. And that's the beauty of Ichigo getting his powers back, is it's him being rewarded for doing what he did. Because not only did he save the Soul Society, he saved the world. Like, he saved the universes. He saved realities from getting dismantled. And again, not once did he ask for a thank you or anything in return. He just did it because he wanted to. And that was rewarded by him getting his powers back. And the shit talk he has. Like, he does this one move and Ginjo thinks, oh, that was a Getsuga Tensho? Okay, whatever. And he just goes like, oh no, that was just a regular sword swing. You want to Getsuga Tensho? There you go. And he obliterates half the mansion with it. Still in Shikai form, mind you. And of course, we see some of the other captains have arrived too. We get Ikaku there, we get Renji there, Hitsugaya is there, Byakuya is there, Kenpachi's there. But why are all these people here just to give Ichigo his powers back? Like, what is the point of all this? Why is this happening now? Why all these people? Well, we see why in a little bit, but we don't have time for that, because the other Fullbringers, they wanted Ichigo's power. Where is it? Why? Why can't you give it to us, Ginjo? Well, Ginjo does, but not before we find out that he was a former substitute Soul Reaper. Yeah, he was Ichigo's predecessor, and somebody that Ichigo could have turned into. And so yeah, Ginjo shares Ichigo's power with everybody, and Ichigo, at first we think he just no-diffs them, because he just kind of shows up, hits them with his sword, and that's about it. But turns out Yukio already activated his ability and starts putting people in onto these rooms, and we get one-on-ones. I struggle even saying one-on-ones because these aren't really fights. They're just, gosh, I even struggle calling some of these clashes. Especially this Kenpachi one, because Kenpachi gets stuck with Kiriko, and Kiriko being like this quote-unquote god of time, he starts boasting about all this, and yet he gets no time to even fight. He dies by Zaraki's hand in an instant. So this is where I want to kind of talk about how the Soul Reaper captains and the lieutenants and all that really kind of dive into their whole God of Death moniker, because Kenpachi beating Kiriko in such quick fashion like that, even calling him weak, is perfect, because Kiriko was somebody that, like, he coveted time. He loved, like, having rules for time, and, like, he loved the whole concept of being a god of time, and that eventually taught him about the consequences of that, as we see, like, in their quick background, which, oh, I'll talk about that chapter here in a little bit. So Kiriko, he dies in an instant, whatever, and Zaraki just put the fear of God into him. Next fight I'll talk about, Ikkaku versus Shishigawara, which is pretty good. It's pretty cool, but Shishigawara learns about the limits of his Fullbring, because his Fullbring is Jackpot Knuckle, which basically every time he hits, he lands a jackpot, because the chances are pretty much always in his favor, and they always land a jackpot for him. But he reaches his limit fighting Ikkaku because they just kind of going on each other, and he's hitting him so much and using this power so much that, oh, the odds are going against me now. I'm not getting the jackpot as much as I used to, and Ikkaku beats him. But we get a good character moment here where it's kind of like Ikkaku looking at an old version of himself and basically saying, look, you want to die for this guy? Okay, ask yourself this: will that die guy for you? Will he put his life on the line for you? If not, then maybe you need to find somebody else to follow. But if he is, and if you're a man, then I'll beat you like a man, and I'll kill you right here and right now. He ends up running away and not doing anything, so there's that fight. Next fight I'll talk about really quick, again, quote-unquote fight, Renji versus Jackie, where Renji kind of, we see a little bit of his mindset. First of all, he knows what a motorcycle is, which is kind of cool, and man, I really want, I know we'll never get this, but I want to get an episode where we see Shuhei bring a motorcycle to the Soul Society, because that's apparently how Renji knew about it, and he got in trouble for it. So I would really love to see that moment. I think that would be really funny, really cool. But Renji, again, he no-diffs Jackie. I mean, he doesn't even get his sword out. He just kind of, blocks her kicks and just kind of butts her with the end of his sword and beats her, and hell, she even blows herself up. So really, Renji didn't do anything, and he has such a cool line too. He's just like, I spent the past 17 months training to beat Aizen. You're nowhere near my level. And damn, just the only thing I feel bad for is somewhat of the misogyny here, because Renji just kind of tells Jackie, hey, I'm not going to attack you first because you're a woman. But it's not mainly that. It's more like, oh, I don't want to be trash and all that stuff. I get what they're trying to go for here, but I don't know, dude. I don't know about that one. Byakuya versus Tsukishima. Now, that was a fight that needed to happen. And Byakuya, man, he is the perfect person to face Tsukishima. Because, first of all, they both shit-talk each other. And I love it. But not only that, but Byakuya shows at the end of this fight that he is still sworn to his duty, and him being the one to fight Tsukishima and going on the fly against him, because Tsukishima, this is where we see the depths of his power, where he can cut the ground, he can cut the air, he can, even if he cuts at your sword or your weapon, he can insert himself into those things and learns everything about them, or can set traps in them, and that's how he's able to fight Byakuya, because he cuts his sword and he knows all of Byakuya's techniques, and he knows about this cool thing about the safe zone, where it's I think it said an 85 centimeter radius around him that his blades don't come to, so that way he can be safe. And Byakuya uses this knowledge to his advantage in this fight, saying, oh, you should have kept your hand when you had it, because now I know where you're going at. And he does this cool thing where he has these blades in his hands, and he holds on to it and all that, and he just blows a hole through Tsukishima. That kills him. Well, not immediately kills him, but yeah. And that's when we get the cool line again of you are Ichigo Kurosaki's enemy, so I have to take you out no matter what you did in my past. Man, again, and he does go on to a little bit about oh, I am the only person that can fight you and all that. So yeah, but thank you for that. He thanks Tsukishima for the fight, because Byakuya learned that he could overcome his weaknesses, because yeah, that is the only weakness of the Senbonzakura Kageyoshi. And guess what? We saw that in the Soul Society when Ichigo got that close to him, because he was shocked at that Ichigo could get that close to him, and to be that close, yeah, that is kind of terrifying and nervous. But yeah, just the setup that we've had for all of this. Chef's kiss all around. Next, I'll talk about Hitsugaya and Yukio. Again, not much of a fight, but just that sense of being a god of death, because Yukio likes to control. He controlled his parents to the point where they committed suicide. He controls the space that they're in and all this stuff. And Hitsugaya, being the cold person, yeah, I'm gonna freeze you, say you can't move, and you're gonna get us all out of here. So again, not much of a fight. And then this last fight, Rukia versus Riruka. Again, these weren't really much fights. You know, I mean, Riruka puts Rukia into a stuffed animal, and they have a talk. And this is as my favorite chapter of this arc, where like we see the Fullbringers' backstories being fleshed out a little bit more. And each one is a different Fullbringer. So like we get Riruka's past about how, you know, everything she loves she would keep and put in this dollhouse, to the point where she actually kidnapped an older person because she had a crush on them and loved them so much and wanted to just be around them all the time. You know, she became a creep like that. Jackie, she got these nice boots from her dad, who obviously stole them, and she didn't have the power to save them when they came a-knocking wanting to get revenge, and her boots got dirty. The boots that she kept so shiny got dirty. Kiriko, who got this pocket watch from his ancestors and thought, oh, I can control time, I can manipulate time, I'm a god of time, ate his words by losing his eye because he was making his wife stare at him constantly until she died. And then Yukio, like, feeling like he couldn't communicate with his parents. He could only communicate with the versions that he thought were the best because they neglected him. They didn't even, like, love him. I doubt they even wanted him. And so he used his powers and controlled them to the point where he got all their money and basically led them to suicide. And it's so good. And like, even when Rukia like confronts her about all this, like, you know, this isn't supposed to be just the laws of the jungle. It's not supposed to be like the survival of the fittest. We can do things together. And like, you are so fixated on not being a normal person, when that's really what brought them all together, is the fact that they're not normal, and that, you know, Tsukishima found them, that Ginjo saved them from all this. And Riruka gives Rukia one last attack and then just disappears for a while. Very, very interesting. But again, I love the thing I liked about these conflicts was that each Soul Reaper represented some sort of death god towards these humans. Because that's the other thing. These are humans. They can't go full out, you know. Byakuya only went full out because he's a man of duty and knows that these people are a threat. You know, Kenpachi went all out because he doesn't know when to not go all out, which we'll dive into that because that's a bit of information I forgot about with 1,000-Year Blood War arc whenever I talk about that. Hell, even Renji being as overpowered as he was against Jackie, that matched well with like her backstory of like not having the power to save and help everybody. Like, I just love how each one meshed well with their opponents. And I think that was the main point of those conflicts, was to show them that there is more to what they can be offering, what more they could be doing in their life. And when those captains get out, they watch as the space that Ichigo and Ginjo and Uryu are still in is still activated. Now, Yukio's threatened to let it out, but we find out that the Fullbringers actually gave part of their powers to Ginjo, and that there were certain rules. And so the rule for Yukio's power, whenever Ginjo was in a space, Yukio can't get rid of the space until Ginjo says, hey, let me out. And yeah, him and Ichigo, again, not really much of a fight, you know, just a bunch of classes and all that, but we see a little bit of why Ginjo is so pissed off. And it's that the fact that this Deputy Soul Reaper badge, this combat pass, wasn't used to like show people, hey, I'm a substitute Soul Reaper, I can do this thing. No, it wasn't just for that, because we saw all the way back at the beginning of the Arrancar arc that the badge didn't work in that way. Hell, Afro Dude didn't even know what the badge was. No, the badge is used to monitor and control. So these substitute Soul Reapers, obviously Ginjo being the first one, they don't really pop up too much. And Ginjo, you know, he was the first one. These badges were just used to control them. And that's what happened with like the spirit pressure that first came out, why Ichigo could hear people talking on the other side. It was a communication to kind of help restrain him a little bit too while he was in the world of the living. And the person who gave it to him Ukitake is the person behind this concept. Ukitake. Yeah, he was the one that, like, the one that loves peace, is the one that, like, manipulates you the most, or something like that Ginjo told Ichigo. And Ichigo, as he's hearing this, Uryu kind of figured this out too, and he's yelling to Ichigo not to listen to him, that, like, this is something that Ichigo can't listen to right now. And Ichigo just says, shut up, activates Bankai, and that Bankai, like, obliterates this space that him and Ginjo are in. And with that, like, the captains are just looking on, and they're listening as Ichigo talks with Ginjo. And Ichigo's just like, stop. Both of you shut up. Because one, Uryu, shut up. I'm not an idiot. I know what's going to happen if I let him into my mind. But two, Ginjo, shut up, because I don't care. Ukitake's smarter than me, so he knows what's best. And I know that if they really wanted to destroy me, they could. But I'm not like that. I'm not going to turn into, like, what you are. They had their reasons. I'm just grateful that I have this power. And with that, the captain's just like, okay, fine, bye. And we find out the origin of all of this. And the origin of why this was a thing. Their whole thing was that they were going to use the next substitute Soul Reaper, the next deputy Soul Reaper, whatever terminology you want to use. They wanted to use that person to sniff out Ginjo, because whatever he did, we find out later on, like, he had apparently stolen Soul Reaper powers, and was killing Soul Reapers and all that. Like, we find all that out. Now, I think there's more information in the Campfire Your Own World novels, which I own 2 of the volumes, and I should read them. I'll probably read them after I finish reading Thousand Year Blood War. But Ginjo, like, he did all this stuff, and he wasn't a good person, and he went into hiding. So they knew that if there was another substitute Soul Reaper, it could sniff out Ginjo, he'll come out, and they'll be able to kill both substitute Soul Reapers, because they're not really part of the Soul Reaper system, are they? No, they're like vigilantes to the Soul Reapers and all that. But what ends up happening is Ichigo happened. Ichigo ended up saving everybody and giving them a debt that, this whole honor system that they have, they can't go behind. They can't back down on it. So that's why they gave him powers. And, it was a tentative solution, because the captains were there to monitor this. They were there to monitor and see what choice Ichigo would make. Would he be grateful and want to be with the Soul Reapers, or will he side with Ginjo? And if he sided with Ginjo, well, we gotta kill Ichigo and Ginjo now. And so they have a clash. We get Ginjo's Bankai, which he looks really cool in, and he's all like, oh, I have your powers and your hollow powers and all that stuff. I'm gonna beat you. Grr. And they have some clashes, but Ichigo, again, he pretty much no-diffs Ginjo and defeats him. Very much like that. I have some words about this part of the arc. It was very quick, and not a lot of stuff was fleshed out, but I can't really fault it too well, because there was such good character work in it too. But at the sight of Ginjo dying, Tsukishima freaks out and goes after Ichigo, and Riruka pops out of Rukia and takes the blow. Riruka's just like, that wasn't an attack that was going to change somebody's memories. That was an attack to kill. And they do this whole thing where, like, look, Ginjo saved us. You helped us. And no matter what we could do, we couldn't save Ginjo except for Ichigo, because their whole fight, we get this little introspective of Ginjo looking at Ichigo saying, what if the roles were reversed? Would you be as pissed off as I am? Would we be in the same situation? We would both die then. If we were in different situations, like if we were just flip-flopped and all that, and like, your eyes aren't the eyes of somebody that wants to kill me. Your eyes are somebody that wants to understand me. Like, I wanted you to say that I was crazy. I wanted you to. But you didn't. You're trying to understand me. Why are you doing this? But that is just Ichigo in a nutshell. Like, he wants to understand everybody, so, and that way he, in turn, protects everybody that he wants to. And that's just Ichigo in a nutshell. And the Fullbringers just disappear. Tsukishima's left with wondering why Ginjo left him, and Shishigawara kind of just walks him into the sunset as he dies. And that's pretty much why. So that way Tsukishima wouldn't be alone when Ginjo died. Because I think deep down, Ginjo knew what was going to happen. He didn't want to leave anybody off of anything. He at least wanted to imprint his own self in somebody. We get confirmation that Giriko died. Jackie lost her powers, so she survived the blast, but she lost her powers. Yukio says he's gonna restart his family's business, and in about 3 years' time, he's gonna hire everybody because they're so kind of shit. They can't do anything without his money and all that. And Riruka survives thanks to Urahara, and we get a nice little moment with her and Orihime just kind of being friends. And yeah, Riruka got what she wanted in a way, because there were people that cared about her. And we end this arc on a bit of a high note too, because Ichigo heads to the Soul Society, and there's a captain's meeting going on. He enters the captain's meeting, and we see that Kensei and Shinji are both captains again. A couple of the other Vizards have also become captains. Like, I think Rose is in there. I want to say Love is. No, I think it's just Rose. That's right, yeah. Ichigo has a meeting with them, and they all think, oh, he's going to just throw us the Soul Reaper badge back at us. You know, he's not going to want to beat us. We got to be prepared for all this. But no, Ichigo just wants Ginjo's body. He wants to bury it in the real world because, I mean, he was his predecessor, and he wants to give him a proper burial. And somewhere where the other Fullbringers that did survive, somewhere where they can visit him and just kind of honor him a little bit, because he did save them and all that. And, you know, Riruka goes somewhere. She just disappears. And that's the Fullbring arc. We leave off on that note. Now, okay. I did spend a lot of time in this video kind of praising this arc, but there were a few things that I wish we got. I wish we got more of why Ginjo was the way he was. Because to just find out that you're being controlled and monitored, I don't think that's a big enough thing to make you want to kill other Soul Reapers and all that. I don't know, it's just kind of weird. And then, like, the whole convoluted plot of him, you know, losing his memories and then regaining them back. The whole, like, oh, if Tsukishima stabs you twice, you know, you get your memories back and all that stuff. But, I mean, even though I have those cons, and I'm sure they might have been answered later on, I still really like this arc. Like, this was so good. This was a great way to kind of, like, dig into Ichigo's character. Because again, I know I went on a spiel on about it earlier, but Ichigo, like, he's a character that really, he doesn't covet power, but him having power to help and to protect, that's his thing. He's always wanted to protect. I think it was even one of his sisters earlier saying that it was Karin who was talking to Urahara. She had said that, you know, he had asked her, how's Ichigo doing? And she said, well, you know, he's doing fine. I mean, he's always been somebody that's wanted to protect, so, I mean, nothing's really changed there. But, I mean, Ichigo's fine. You know, he's doing fine. But he really wasn't doing fine, because he wanted that power. He craved having that power again, so that way he could protect. And honestly, like, that kind of ties into an overall theme I've noticed in Bleach, just in its entirety, which I guess we'll get into right now. Like, this whole idea of identity and finding your place in life. Like, it's so well done. Like, we have Ichigo with that. We have Chad and Orihime going through that. We have Uryu, who not only goes through that most of the time, but hell, he's gonna have a big part to play in the next arc in the 1,000-Year Blood War. So there's that part. You know, there's even the Soul Reapers, like, trying to find their own duty. You know, we saw that with the Soul Society arc. We saw that a lot in the Irankar arc with the, like, mainly the Espadas, like, finding their purpose in their existence. Like, you know, whether it's following others, whether it's trying to be kings, trying to be powerful. And, you know, we saw that with Aizen. We saw that with Gin. We see that so much through Bleach, just this idea of where do I belong? What is my purpose? What is my duty in life? And it's done really well. So kudos to you, Kubo, for something like that. But this revisit, and I've said it ad nauseum. I'm sure people are tired of me saying it, but I need to say it in a video. This recent revisit of Bleach has really opened my eyes to Kubo and just how he's constructed his world, how he's constructed his story, his characters and all that. Could there be more here and there? Yeah, of course, but every story has something like that. Like, no story is perfect, but man, this I might have to say this, but Bleach may have surpassed Naruto in many different areas for me, especially in this recent revisit, because, like, Bleach, I don't know. I feel so eye-open. Like my eyes have finally seen something really good, really cherishable, and like something that when I was reading this weekly in high school, yeah, I liked it and all that, but thinking back on it now, it was such a huge part of just my time then. Like, I actually had somebody I had talked to in real life about Bleach. We freaked out about Zaraki moments and with the first movie and all that. There was a lot of hype with Bleach, and like looking back on it now, like I've always thought Naruto was like the closest thing I had because Naruto always felt like a brother, but and that's a weird statement to say too, but like Bleach really was there for me for a lot of shit. Like it was always there as just like something that I guess Naruto would be like the more comfort thing with everything, but Bleach started trying to teach me like to start thinking about where I belonged and where I was supposed to go and just how I can get through troubles and all that. Like oh my gosh, it's so good. It's really good. Like, and I've always thought it was good, but there's always been a part of me that kind of listened to that vacuum that was just like, oh yeah, Bleach fell off after Soul Society. Well, no, not really. Like, there are a lot of good things, and I hope like during this time of this arc review, I hope I open some eyes to what Bleach actually offers, and that's why like people are so excited for the 1,000-Year Blood War, because from what I remember, now I tried once to reread the 1,000-Year Blood War arc, but I didn't really get too far. I think I only got like 10 chapters into that reread. So like I said in the beginning of this video, I do plan to reread it before the anime comes back because I don't remember much of it. I remember some big moments like the whole Kenpachi thing, if you know what that is. Some Bankais revealed, some powers revealed, some overpoweredness, and of course, those last few chapters were a thing. But I'm excited to get back into it because there's stuff that I remember from it, but little details that I didn't, that I got from this recent rewatch and reread, and I'm looking forward to it. And I'm looking forward to sharing the anime with everybody coming up in a couple weeks, or whenever this video actually gets uploaded, hopefully before the anime starts. But Bleach is really good, and if you've gotten anything from this arc review series of Bleach, it's that you can change your mind on a few things, and that's fine. Like, again, I thought the Lost Agent arc was bad. I thought that was a bad arc and that had no meaning to it. Boy, was I wrong. So, just give things another chance, and maybe you'll find greatness in it. But I'm going to stop there. I'm going to get off that soapbox. Let me know down in the comments what you thought of this arc. What things did you learn from it? Maybe you had different thoughts as well. Maybe your thoughts changed when you were going through it between, the first time and a revisit. Let me know. And regarding Bleach content on the channel, I've toyed about it, maybe, doing weekly talks about the episodes, or maybe doing a 1,000-Year Blood War arc review at the end where, like, certain parts, I don't know what I'm going to do yet, so just be on the lookout for all that. I think with the episodes, it might just go into, like, stop and swap territory when that starts up again. So, yeah, just be on the lookout for those discussions. But, yeah, leave a comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your hype for the 1,000-Year Blood War arc, because I know I'm excited for that, as well as the Hell arc that we're supposed to be getting. Like, that's coming soon. And, Burn the Witch, that'll be coming back. I can't wait to do live reactions for that again. And, if you don't want to miss any of all that, subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell icon so you get notified every time I upload a video. And as always, people, I've been your world champion. Catch you guys in the next arc review. I have a feeling I know where we're going to be journeying to next. See ya.